What's up? It's Third Ward, Texas in the house. Y'all know, no, ain't too many of y'all there, but that's like the rich black area in Third Ward. And anybody who would think of Destiny Child, y'all think it is, right? What y'all seeing now? Yeah. I'm a survivor, you know. And all that stuff, right? Now, when I think of Destiny Child, I think of these girls. And this is the original ones that got the deal from Columbia. You know, and at that time, when we had met them, it was a whole different circumstances around them. Like, they've always worked their butt off to get to where they was going. Like, this was years ago. But because of the pull from TLC, back in like 94, 95, when TLC had hit the scene and blew up the way they did, and came out with their second album with some, like, put their place and legacy intact. Now people were looking for the group that they already had auditioned for them when they were before they was Destiny Child, and they were like Girls Time or something. You know, everybody was trying to get that TLC vibe now. And Destiny's Child was it. You know, they was like, oh, bring them girls I saw that auditioned a while ago, bring them back, because those girls could make it. And I had relatives at that time, they was in the military and all this stuff, so they knew about these girls, because you know, their mother did their hair, or she ran the salon rather. It was her shop, and she didn't personally do their hair, but she was one of their main clients or whatever in the salon. So she was up on these girls way before anybody even heard of them. And she had this cassette tape and demo tape or whatever of the girls performing and all that, and they songs. And so that was the first time I ever heard of them. But let's bring you up to speed, my boy Nicky. Now, if you all should know, if you've been watching my videos, Kel from Kenan and Kel, Good Burger, home of the Good Burger, Kel Mitchell, grew up around the corner from me. And he was in a rap group with my cousin, because they were around the same age. His best friend and closest friend and neighbor, Data, was right there with him. All three of them formed a group. And it was kind of like Destiny's Child. They had like 4 or 5 members. I remember Rob was in it. If Data watching this, one Rob in that group too for a minute. And then like something like Rob and Fred, well, Data, they made the best music, hands down. And that's a whole nother subject. I'm going way off course, because I just thought about that album Data y'all did, when the cover and stuff was hilarious. Y'all pouring the champagne like Diddy, and y'all pointed to the glass, and the name of y'all group was the Big Dick Boys. You you and Rob and Rob with that laugh, man. What was that laugh Rob had? Rob, and he would laugh on the records, and that would make the song even better. Perfect, man. I miss those tapes. If I can get some of those tapes back. So what we listening to now? Shoot. But anyway, back on subject. Now, they did the show All That. Kel did. He got on the show All That. It became a success. And Nick Cannon ended up coming on the show. And him and Kenan became really close friends. They actually had an apartment together at that time. And those two were really close. So all of us eventually became like close. Like we was like one tight knit, you know, like I tell y'all before about the circles. This is how it worked. We were all like one big circle. Like we from the city and everything else. Like they're the group. I don't perform. They perform. And it's their thing. You know, when it's just them, it's them. But when we all hung out, it was none of that like superstarness and oh man, we're with the superstar Kel. You know, it was just regular and normal, and he needed that because it gets crazy for him. At that time, it was wild. So Nick Cannon is hanging out more with us, you know, at this time, you know, because he was just coming in the game, and Keenan was hanging out. And it was a big night from like BET, and the BET Awards was going on, and some people didn't get invited. See, this is back when the BET had class. They wasn't putting guys up there from YouTube making a song. The guy, and Antoine Dotson went on stage back then. You know, they had people that was like, well, we can't let you in. So Sprite would throw something, or Pepsi, or whoever, and I think this was Sprite night. And they had Naughty by Nature performing. There was a lot of people performing on the stage, and it was more like a party in the rest of the atmosphere. And I don't have all the pictures, Jada. I don't know. I got them somewhere. I just don't have all of them. But this was what was so funny about the night. Because this night, Destiny Child shows up. And see, if I say that now, y'all like, wow. But Destiny Child showing up then was like, who are they? You know, and all the guys is there. They thinking where the hoes at. That's all anybody is thinking is where the hoes at. So they looking for chicks, you know, this and that. So when Destiny Child show up, here come 4 chicks walking straight through the door. So that's, instead of like this is Destiny Child, they looking like, all right, fresh meat. So here come 4 chicks coming in there. And at this time, they was like, they had just had their first hit single, No, No, No. And the remix or whatever, so with Wyclef. And they're like, they were like, glad to be invited. They showed up late to the party and everything else, so they just glad to be there. So Nick is the only one, like everybody was Latavia crazy. Because if you've seen the group, you would think Latavia was the head of the group. She was the outgoing one. She was the one that was like basically the leader. She was the face. She did most of the talking in the interviews. Latavia was like the face of Destiny Child at first. It was Beyonce wasn't the outgoing one. And people didn't even know her name at that point. Even after this song is on the radio, it's hot, it's blowing up. And then once what's his name come over, Nick was like, man, old girl is bad. He was like, man, don't she kind of look like old girl Gina from Martin? I was like, yeah, that's exactly what she looking like. And everybody else think that's crazy because Latavia is obviously the best one over there. So everybody's sitting over there having a discussion about who's the best, Destiny's Child girl. You know, I'm like, man, what is this? Like, look. And then, so Beyonce goes over to the side, and she was over there sitting with the rest of the girls. She was with Kelly. she went over to the side. She was mostly just sitting with Kelly, and Latoya and Latavia, they was basically working around the room. So Nick was come back, and he's like Mr. 411 with the info. He come back like, look, this is what's going on. That's Destiny's Child, blah, 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 blah. That's Latavia. He knew every name. He was like, oh, your girl name? Her name is something French. It's like Bayonne or something. Told you, man, she got class. Her name like Bayonne, man. This is like some French stuff, man. Yeah. So she's like French and stuff. Man, she bad. I was, and then the Stro, my cousin, just like, man, y'all just like light-skinned girls. That's just all it is. And that's y'all problem. Y'all got a red bone fetish. And I had to think about it, and I'm like, wait a minute. And I thought about it, and I started going down my list of girlfriends, and I'm like, I've had a lot of red bone girlfriends in my list. I'm like, wow, this is crazy. I got a red bone list. Like, I was like, yeah, I got some dark-skinned girls on my list, but now that I'm looking at my record, yeah, man, you about right. I gotta shake this up. So I thought I was just picking the finest girls in the room. But they just happened to be light-skinned. I was like, oh my God, how did this happen? So, anyway, I'm letting that in my head. I'm doing the numbers. So Nick like, I'm going in. So when Nick makes that decision, like he going in, Stro went in to talk to Latavia. They went in as a tag team. So when they went in there, my cousin's talking to Latavia and everything, and was talking about them, who they was, blah, blah, blah. Nick is over there, and his conversation with Beyonce ain't going right. So his conversation with Beyonce went totally left. It went left so fast you wouldn't believe it. He go over there, give her this grand introduction, and when my cousin took the picture with Latavia, you could see Nick and them in the background, and it ain't going good. So Nick comes back and was like, man. Man. I was like, well, what happened? She just treated me like a fan. I was just like, hey, I'm Nick Cannon and all this. And she was like, oh, hey, how you doing? And he's like, yeah, I really like your work. You do good work and stuff. I saw. She was, thank you for believing in me. And and he didn't know how to respond. He was just like a deer in headlights. And he kept trying to dig himself out like, do you know who I am? He almost about to drop the Nick card. He's like, I got to drop the Nick Cannon card. Like, I'm Nick Cannon, baby. And he had just got started, but he was like, I'm more famous than her. And he's like, I had to stop and think, like, wait a minute, I'm more famous than her. How did this happen? Oh, man. Then this ended up being one of the funniest nights because it so happened that that Nick ended up dating nothing but singers. He went from that to Christina Milian and then Mariah Carey. And all of those girls are similar in a lot of ways. But look at it. I'm like, two of them became mega stars. The other one became a groupie. So, hey, you did something right, Nick. You did something right. So, anyway, Fred was there. Data was networking all day. Was in there in the mix, getting it all going and cracking. Now me, at this point, I came to LA to see a fight. So we in LA. I think we were going to either Nickelodeon or something. I can't even remember. But I think we were in there to see a fight. And Destiny Child was in the same hotel. Nick Cannon comes over. And we going over everything that went wrong that night. Mac is there, everybody there. And we sitting there, right? And he was like, man, that night went bad, man. That night went real bad. Like, I just can't believe that, man. And he's like, but I think she with somebody. I'm like, guess what? She's in the hotel. And I was like, no, they down there right now. They're in the hotel. They're in the same hotel. They had some other song that was coming out or whatever. And they was prepping for a video shoot or something. Or a photo shoot, something, but they were staying in the hotel. So Nick was like, for sure, for real? I'm like, yeah. And then Nick went to try to find them. And come to find out, we went downstairs, like, they were, like, downstairs, like, I think they were waiting on a car or something. And the car wasn't there or something like that, and all this stuff. But I don't know how we end up speaking, but we ended up talking, and then Wesley Jonathan was coming over too, because he was supposed to meet up with Nick and them, and they had something they had to do. But I was basically waiting on them to come, but me and them sparked up a conversation. And then I brought up that night, and I was like, yeah, my buddy's looking for you, Nick Cannon. And they was, ooh, oh, Beyonce's got somebody. She was so ridiculously shy. She's so ridiculously shy, it's not even funny back then. I mean, the way you see her on stage, she was so shy. She had her head down and was like looking up with her eyes. It's like, well, just tell him I got a boyfriend. Tell him I said thank you. I'm really appreciated, but I got a boyfriend and I'm just trying to focus on my career. And I was like, no problem. I'll let him know this and that. And she was like, thank you so much. And I was like, oh, it's no problem. So they was like, do you sing? I said, well, only when I'm alone. So it was funny because while we were sitting there, everybody got loose and was talking. And I'm sitting there saying, damn, I could get Beyonce right now if I want to. It was that easy. I felt. If I could have worked my way in right there, could have worked some magic. I had them like trained seals, like Jurassic World. Hey, follow, come with me. This one for you, Blue. We sitting there having a ball because they was just young teenagers, basically happy to be in this situation that they were in. So it was like all brand new to them. They getting to go to do all this stuff. It was fun. And see, this is back then where people wasn't so crazy and perverted and taking pictures and Instagram. And if you ain't have a camera, 9 times out of 10, you didn't have a camera. You had a disposable one, and I was all out of film. I would have took pictures that day. So there's plenty of situations, though, I don't like to take pictures even today. Like, I've been in places with people and don't take pictures of them because they treat you different. You wouldn't be around or involved. You got to know when it's the right time to take a picture and when it's not the right time to take a picture. That's the key in picture taking. You will be kicked out of places so fast for taking pictures. So people be like, man, where's the pictures of you and Floyd? I was like, dude, I got enough pictures from me and Floyd. Believe me, I've seen Floyd plenty of times since then, and there's been like maybe one picture that we've taken together that I didn't even take. Somebody else took. And I don't know where in the world that picture is today. So it'll probably pop up somewhere down the road, but that's just how it is when you taking pictures back then. Because this is like, I want to say 97, 98. You know, cameras was like, unless you had a real cheapo, you was using film. And this is like, film was like some money, but a camera was like $200. No camera phones, you know. We was just happy to have a cell phone at work. And I had just got mine. Like my cell phone was, I had Primeco with the little pink monster, little alien monster on it. That was my first cell phone. I've had the same number since inception. Since 1998 to today, it's the same phone number. I've only had one number. Ain't no way somebody gonna run me off my phone. I gotta change my number, man. I'll be no. She gonna stop calling. That's just all to it. So, needless to say, Nick has sent all different type of attempts to get Beyonce. He tried, and valiantly, I told him the information, and he kind of looked at me like, yeah, you talked to her? Like, what happened? Oh, he thought like I was going to snake him in the back. Like, it was, I guess he's used to this mentality, or this is a thing he does. So he was treating me as like, I know you went for your shot. I'm like, I ain't gonna stab nobody in the back that I know my boy. If my boy or somebody I'm cool with trying to talk to a girl, I'm not finna jump in the way and try to talk to her and cut him out the deal. I don't do that. Now, this might be something he would done. Like, man, if I was in that position, I'm going for it. And that's just, Nick is very outgoing like that. He wants something, he go out there to try to get it. But he eventually found out she did have a boyfriend, somebody that back in Houston, and he ended up breaking up with her, and this is how Jay-Z got her. And this was back in like about a year later. He worked at a bank. He was like a manager at a bank or something. He had a really good job, and he had to break up with her because of she had, you know, like all these obligations, always traveling. They did a lot of touring, so she was rarely at home. So when she come home, she trying to see everybody, see him, and you know, and he was just like, it's not working. You know, like, you don't have to wait for me and everything else, and just go ahead and do your thing, you know, and tour and do all this stuff. So he just like, go ahead, be you. So she was heartbroken at the fact that she's blowing up and they got the #1 song and all this stuff, and the guy she loved and all that stuff, he's breaking up with her. You know, that was devastating. So if Nick was around then, if he didn't just give up on that, he probably would have been back in the picture. But I think that's how Jay got her. Yep, that's how Jay got her, because it was around the same time, and she had a contract obligation to do Austin Powers, and she was on the set, like crying and stuff, and Jay was around then, and Jay started, you know, seeing her and speaking to her and keeping in contact. And he was already like Jay-Z, you know, Volume 3 Jay-Z. And he started talking to her, you know, sweet talking her and all that stuff, and, you know, being the best buddy, and like, you know what, I'm going to give you my contact number. You want to talk, you know. Jay played the role, you know, and he won. And he helped her become one of the best mega stars in the world. They can't take that away from him. They be like, oh, Beyonce was always. No, she wasn't. She was a girl that was in a girl band, and that group was great, and she went as far as she can go with the group. But the songs that they were doing were okay, it was alright. They're more teenish type songs, but now she's gonna start she's going into womanhood, and she's gonna be doing really adult content type of songs. Now she needs to be transformed into a solo R&B artist, which is a lot different from being in a group. You might think it's the same, but it's not. So Jay had a big role in getting her the right type of songs that would gravitate and sell with both, and getting her with the right producers at the time to work with her. So I do commend him for that. It's your boy Karceno. I'm out. See, I don't hate on Jay.